Hello friends, I'm Jeroen and today I would like to talk about the differences of two East Bloc bayonets. To make the comparison as fair as possible, I chose two bayonets that were made in almost the same year. On the AK side, a first generation AKM bayonet which was only made in 1960 to 1964. On the VZ58 side, a second generation bayonet which was produced since 1962 till the early 70s. This comparison is pretty fair, with the AK-47 bayonet being produced before VZ58 even existed, which became Czechoslovak issue rifle in 1958, with its first generation of bayonet that was discontinued in about 2 years. First generation differs from the second generation only by the grip material, going from solid wood to baked together wood chips. The AK had much bigger jump, from AK-47 bayonet that was very awkward to use and only good for being attached to the rifle, to basically a multi-tool which they made improved designs of basically every few years. Going back to Czechoslovakia, where the first generation and last, fourth generation, only differed in material of grips, slightly elongated tank so it doesn't break when throwing, and that's all the changes. It's essentially a World War II design of bayonet, with blade heavily inspired by AK-47 and SVT-40 bayonet, with locking mechanism straight out copied from Kar 98 bayonet. The VZ58 bayonet has one major plus against the AKM bayonets, and that its being fake edges is on both sides and can be actually sharpened somewhat effectively, though it was advised by military officials to not do that and you would be charged with destruction of military property. As later generations of this bayonet also show us, this bayonet was made to be thrown, a skill taught in paratrooper and commando schools. It has no other uses than to stab something basically. But what I found is this one piece with detachable brass knuckles. As far as I know, this was never even at military trials, and by the markings I assume it's workshop made. I assume this was passed from a Czech mercenary working abroad. The AKM bayonet has fake edge only on one side, and if you attempt to sharpen the bayonet, I would advise you to not sharpen the side which doesn't have it. Also keep in mind, to keep it sharp afterwards you need to modify the scabbard, because the metal scabbard inside are directly in contact while sheathing or unsheathing the bayonet. Unlike the VZ bayonet though, it also works well as a multi-tool. This earliest version of Soviet bayonet multi-tool engineering is not the best of its family, but this is where it started. First bayonet ever to utilize its scabbard combined with the bayonet itself to use as a wire cutter. To cut wires that are under electric current, keep in mind to only grab the scabbard by its rubber cover and not to touch the bayonet's metal, only the bakelite grip. The bayonet also features a saw, but cutting anything with this is only meant for someone desperate enough. Maybe also the reason why later AK-74 models have the saw completely reworked. Even this first model can also be used, again in combination with scabbard, as a hammer. Reinforced butt of this model was not strong enough though, that's why they later changed it into metal. The bayonet has many more uses than that though. Sadly, I have forgotten most of them, and I will try to make a dedicated video later this year. Last year on a Stalker event here in Czech Republic, I met a large group of Russians and Kazakhs, which some even were old enough they were once conscripts in the Soviet army, some were in the Russian army years ago. I remember them showing me how to warm up my team using the bayonet, attaching a wire to the wire cutter cutout in bayonet, placing the blade near the fire, its heat transferring into my and others' cups effectively. However, we were so heavily drunk that day I don't recall the other uses they show me correctly. For today, this is it. I hope you learned something new, and if you got some questions, I'm answering to them all in the comments as usual. I'm Jeroen from the Forest Stalker Brothers, and hopefully I'll see you around here next time too.